Hi, it's Jacob. Welcome to this new video. Today I want to talk about programming. How do you learn programming when you don't know, when you have zero background, right? How do you get started? And how do you make sure that you're not gonna get overwhelmed and you don't learn too much, basically, too much things that don't matter. So because basically maybe you have you've tried to learn programming, but it feels really hard. Like it feels like there is just too many things, and like when you actually want to do something, you don't know where to get started. Basically, like you don't know how you could start creating a program, or you feel like you've been acquiring a lot of knowledge, but in actual practice, it's a little bit more complicated than that, and you don't feel like you can actually do things. Maybe you tried, but it feels a little bit too technical. Maybe also you bought a few books and you tried to implement things and just running some of the programs or some of the lines of codes that were in that book, but you realize that it just didn't work. Just because the book is, sometimes books get outdated real fast and they don't necessarily make sure that it still works. And then when you buy the book and you try to implement the thing, it comes up with errors and it doesn't work, right? So that is a pretty frustrating experience when that happens. That happened to me 10 million times, of course. I've done it so much. So what is the way to move forward without getting overwhelmed and without just making actually being able to do things in practice in the real world, right? In actually doing things. So for what I'm going to tell you is going to be a little bit counterintuitive, but not counterproductive, counterintuitive, but actually really productive, which is going to be to try to get away with as less as possible. So basically it's going to, let me clear that up, and it's going to be about doing less and learning less things, right? So do, or rather learn less, right? Sorry, let me do that in green. Learn less things, because I don't want you to get confused about the different things that you learn and you don't know actually how to apply them. What we need to do, and what is actually very powerful in my by experience, the way I learned a language usually was to learn as little as possible and then try to get away with it. So let me take an example. So if you were talking about a while loop versus a for loop, if you don't know anything about programming, don't freak out. A while loop is just a way to repeat yourself, and a for loop is a way to repeat things. Also, it has exactly the same type of structure. It does the same thing. The only difference is a while loop is going to repeat things until you say to stop. Based on some type of condition. Let's say you do this until you have, I don't know, a number is under another number or something like that, basically a condition. Or this is the while loop. Now the for loop is going to be for a set number of time you repeat the thing. For example, this is a simplification of what those are, but basically those two things, what I'm getting at is those two things, they kind of do the same thing. Of course, sometimes there are ways where you're gonna have to use the while loop instead of just the for loop, just because there is going to be a problem, and you are not going to be able to solve it with the for loop. But the thing is, only learn one of those two and try to get away with it. You don't need to learn both of them, but to try to preemptively learn things without having a problem to solve, right? Preemptively solving problems is what leads to being overwhelmed with knowledge that don't matter, basically. It's like when you are not hungry and you're eating things. You don't need to eat stuff if you're not hungry. You're gonna become fat. That's just what it is. You don't need to be fat. In theory, it's a good thing to be fat because if something happens when you don't have access to food for a long time, then that means you can use all of that in your body, right? But like in the real world, being fat is actually a bad thing. I don't need to debate that with anybody, I think. So that's the same idea here. Like if you consider like eating as or learning as eating, well, do not learn things that don't matter. If you don't absolutely need those things, then try to get away with it without knowing those things, right? So start by actually trying to do stuff and then reverse engineer how to do them and disregard anything that is not related to that, right? And this is really, really something like this is the engineering approach, basically. This is not at all like the academic approach, because a lot of people like overestimate how much engineers know about a problem that they are solving. Like engineers don't know much than anybody else, basically, relative to a specific problem. I'm saying, right? Obviously, like engineers, they have accumulated tons and tons of knowledge, but that type of knowledge is absolutely not related to actual problems they encounter, like at work, like in the real world. Those are completely different. So what I'm saying is, because that is happening, then engineers usually like look at the problem and then try to solve it as fast as possible, just because like that's the job of the engineer. So they're not usually going to come up with like very sophisticated weird way of solving the problem. They're just going to use like look at the minimum amount of things that they can learn in order to solve the problem. And sometimes they are not even going to learn anything. What they're going to do is they're going to try different things until that works and then move forward. So trial and error, and then if that works, you move forward. It's sometimes if really you are interested in what in that thing for some reason, or you have like some time to waste, then you're going to look at the reason why it worked, right? But like that is not even necessary. You don't need to understand all of that necessarily in order to solve that problem. It's kind of like the same thing here. If you're going to acquire knowledge, then it's a good thing to get away with as little things as possible, and that is going to help you like acquire some type of practice and get better and better and better and acquire the knowledge bit by bit. And that all those bits of knowledge that you're going to acquire are going to be anchored in reality. It's going to be in order to solve that problem. So if we take the example of the for loop again, that means you're not, let's say you take just for loop and that's what you learn, and then you apply it like every single time that you need to use it, then to repeat something, right? Which is the point of the for loop. Then you are going to learn about the while loop just when you cannot use the for loop in order to solve the problem. It's like, sure, that might not be very pretty or whatever, because it's like, well, maybe sometimes you're going to use a for loop when a while loop could have worked, but who cares, really? Like, that is the academic approach where they try to make you think that matters when that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you use a for loop or a while loop as long as it works. Maybe sometimes a while loop would be more more beautiful or whatever, like it doesn't aesthetically pleasing by whatever criteria that they're inventing, but like in the real world that doesn't really matter, right? So that's really what I wanted to I hope that was helpful, and make sure to really limit yourself every single time that you're learning something, because it's really, I just wanted to show you that those things don't really matter. And like some people try to pretend that some things matter because they have an incentive to do that, but like really if we want to go fast, move forward and do things, actually create stuff, then really that doesn't matter. And so don't waste your time on things that don't matter is basically the point of this video. So thank you for watching, and if you want to be part of my contacts, you can click on the link in the description, and I regularly create free exclusive content for my contacts, so feel free to subscribe. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.